What are
Yeah.
you seeing? What are you seeing on the front lines of AI? How are you integrating it, and what do you see kind of coming next?
That is a great question. I would say in the industry, I'm seeing a lot of misses because people are running at it with a general term. AI can do anything. So let's just have it do anything. Well, that's a very poor use case, right? Ultimately, it seems to get strong gains. It almost tricks you into believing it can do it. But then by the time you get to something you would wrap in a product, there's so many leaks, problems, securities that you're like, man, I just can't get this out the door. I mean, even something simple as I want to put AI to allow my customers to not have to learn my data model and can just ask questions and get reports.
Right.
Very easy use case for AI. But to get AI to do that, you have to train it intimately on your data model.
Welcome to Future Driven. I'm Adam Lejeune-Kopp, and on this podcast, we talk about challenges and wins in business. See the vision, drive the future.
Welcome to Future Driven episode number 58. I have Evan Schwartz here from AMCS Group, Chief Innovation Officer, but he's got a few more things in his bag that we're going to talk about. So, Evan, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Adam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we were just catching up before we hit record, and there seemed to be a lot of interesting things that you've done in your career and what you got on the plate right now. But give us a little bit about your background, how you got it. Tell us a bit about your career and how it kind of led you to what you're doing today.
Sure. Look, I guess from the fire hose version of it, because it goes back like 35 plus years. I started my first company, Locath Industries, at 16. I don't know how many people on your podcast are even going to know what a dial-up bulletin board system is, but that's where I started doing graphical games for BBSs. I developed a language similar to HTML, but we called it DDoFX, so that it could send across the wire with a dial-up because it was low speed back then. We didn't have broadband, and to be able to play games. And that was very successful up until 1995 when the internet came. Kind of put a bullet in the head of the BBS industry. So we lifted and moved into the internet, which was not as successful because the internet is all free. Why would you sell anything on the internet when it first came out, if you can remember? So we we partnered with a company in Israel called Sidor that gave us access to ad revenue, and realized we could make more revenue giving all of our stuff away, selling ads, than we could sell it directly, which would just boggled us, right? That was just, didn't make any sense to us at the time. Ran that for a while until everybody else caught on to the fact that internet could make money. So the big boys came in, out budgeted me. I took a hard left into back to business. I fell into a company, Infinite Energy, for reasons that we'd have to go into over a beer, I think, rather than this podcast. And started in their mailroom. 18 months later, had become an owner in the company, built their software systems, and that's really where I started cutting my teeth on ERP systems, managing all their customers, their ability to buy and sell decatherms of natural gas, billing systems, print stuff, mail, the whole thing.
What year would that have been? Or around what years?
Yeah, so that might have been the 99, 2000, 2001 period.
Okay.
About 18, 20 months. And sold out of that. Tried to do private enterprise a little bit, moved into consulting, fell into a company that was called Baywood Technologies, which was in the forestry business. Very similar thing, full ERP system, end to end, and started to really fall in love with resource-intensive wealth industries, not service-based industries, but people that are taking materials, transporting them, packaging them, and delivering them to either end customers or to industries, manufacturing, that sort of thing.
Sure.
Ran that for 10 years as the forestry industry started to get into the recycle movement and started realizing they could repulp cardboard boxes. I had stumbled upon a company called Desert Micro and joined them and was their CTO for about 18 months, then got acquired by AMCS Group, and I've been rocking that. This August will be my 8th year there at AMCS. And again, AMCS is highly focused on resource-intensive industries, end-to-end enterprise systems, anywhere and everywhere they can find efficiencies. We've adopted a principle around sustainability that I think is catching on, but we ran at it uniquely, where I think everyone else tried to get sustainability, environmental compliances as more of a boot on neck, do the right thing because it's the right thing, but it's not going to hit your bottom line. Well, we're like, well, why? Why couldn't it be positive to your bottom line? It didn't take long for us to do the analytics and realize that anywhere in your business, regardless of your business, wherever your highest carbon footprint is by measure, is areas where you can find revenue leakage, efficiency optimizations. It's a high indicator. So we coined the phrase performance sustainability because you can be doing the right thing and dramatically impact the bottom line through efficiencies. And we do that across the entire supply chain, side chains, all of your ancillary, um, whatever the ancillary activities that your business requires to operate. So we're deep into forestry, scrap metal, waste, recycling, anywhere that's resource intensive, oil and gas. And we're touching just about every facet of that business today.
Oh, that's great. And so, as a CIO, what is your main focus, and what does your kind of day to day look like?
Yeah, I'd say that the small to medium market might look at what a chief innovation officer does and go, wow, we all do that, right? You at a
Right.
certain size, it's sort of a shared responsibility is to
Yeah.
put innovation into your product. When you grow to the size of AMCS, we're across 80 countries globally, it becomes very difficult to share that single vision across all the departments. So we do a global innovation conference every year. Everyone, right down to a customer service agent, can prompt and put up and actually show, like a skunkworks project, their innovation. We love that. But to be able to get that to market, if one of those is a good idea, is
Yeah.
challenging at that size. So we grouped it under a single department head, put me in charge of it. I still have all of the same innovative members that have been working with the company as it's grown to this size, sitting in the innovation committee, and they weigh in on bets of the innovation we're going to run at. My job is now to take those bets and get executed across the line back out to the market to accelerate the delivery of it under, it's still the group think, but to run at it and execute is my job.
Okay. And so, in the last 1 to 2 years, as AI has really become a crucial part of what I assume you're doing, what are
Yeah.
you seeing? What are you seeing on the front lines of AI? How are you integrating it, and what do you see kind of coming next?
That is a great question. I would say in the industry, I'm seeing a lot of misses because people are running at it with a general term. AI can do anything. So let's just have it do anything. Well, that's a very poor use case, right? Ultimately, it seems to get strong gains. It almost tricks you into believing it can do it. But then by the time you get to something you would wrap in a product, there's so many leaks, problems, securities that you're like, man, I just can't get this out the door. I mean, even something simple as I want to put AI to allow my customers to not have to learn my data model and can just ask questions and get reports.
Right.
Very easy use case for AI. But to get AI to do that, you have to train it intimately on your data model. But
Yeah.
what's really hard to do, you can get the reports you're looking for, but to protect from the things you don't want it to talk about. Right. So even we had a customer that even did this exercise, went all the way through and was like, we're thinking 90 days. We're going to put this out in the market. This is fantastic. Our customers are going to love this. We're asking it questions. It's generate data. It's putting together reports. The MCP layers, opening it up. I can talk right into Power BI. Fantastic. And out of just an off chance, one of the developers go, well, can you give me the names of the columns in those tables? Can you tell me what their data types are? Those are things you don't want, right? That you're now enabling SQL injection, and then all that did was just open Pandora's box, and now you have an infinite test case problem with
Yeah.
that type of open AI. If you're exposing a prompt to your customer, it's not like old software development where I have a use case and I have some edge cases and maybe there's a handful of things I need to test against that I wouldn't expect. But with AI, it's an infinite lever. You now even would have to test against the fact, well, what if they ask you this in code? What if they create a code word and then say the code word? What if they ask this in French? It becomes too much of a test case to find the boundaries to it, and it becomes problematic. So after that, learning across the industry, and I still think there's a lot of that, right? Because the hype is there, is we're seeing the recoil back, which is the right recoil, is very specific, narrow use cases, highly controlled automation. Do not use AI. At least this is our learnings where we're getting a lot of success at it, where you don't have room or margin for error, right? Don't
Right.
put it in a billing system. Don't make it account perfectly. It can't be in an area. Find a use case that you're already doing, humans are doing. Find out what the error rate is. Can I build an AI in a secure, protected way that's at least as good or better than that? And then iterate to scale that. That's more scalable. Those are powerful use cases that are impacting bottom line EBITDA. Now, at AMCS, we're a huge driver of person plus AI, right, as a strategy.
Right.
Don't get the people out of it. That's just poor strategy. And if you think about it, if I were to scale down my workforce, the maximum I could scale it to, 0, right? I can only get it so far down to nothing. That'd be my maximum return. But if I was able to amplify a single user's output using AI, so now I'm one person and I'm commanding 15, 20 agents or 200 agents to do work, and there's on-ramps for it to escalate to me when it drops below a 80% confidence rate or it gets a problem. Well, now you've multiplied what you were paying me and my output by up to maybe 200. That's an infinite game. So now my job is now to go out in the market and find a way to put another me out there and give it 200 more agents. So now my scaling algorithm is phenomenal. So what should you be doing right now with your employees and your personnel? Don't threaten them with replacement. Put them through training. Put them through prompt engineering, right? That's what we're doing at JU is we're working out a new curriculum on what do we want kids coming, or not really kids, but students graduating at a master's level knowing. Well, I want them to understand how to make this tool productive, right? I want it to be able to produce it better than just, I'm asking it things and it comes up with a close. No, I need it to be precision controlled. I saw an article the other day on, this photographer headshot. He's an artist, right? And he started to give a prompt into AI. He gave it as a picture. You just take a snapshot here, dropped it, and used language I wouldn't have used because I don't know lensing and all that stuff on a camera, and using terms around dark and dramatic and half the face, water dripping and all that stuff, and came back with this stunning image and provided the prompt. So I took my picture, stuck it up there, used his prompt, and it came back. It was pretty good, right? The only difference between what he was with a camera in his hand and now is the camera. It's the lens. It still needed him to be able to generate that, right? We got to really wrap our heads around the fact that AI is not going to sit out there and come up with a beautiful way to make this dramatic black and white water dripping off my face image by itself. So that's still going to need operators. So focus on a person plus AI, keep the use case narrow, and have controlled prompts. Don't open prompts out to your customers. Don't open prompts out to your vendors. Now you've got a framework, put ethics around it, put morals around it, build a policy, and then start to run at something that you already have metrics that you can measure. And then test your output against it and see how successful it is. Your very first one will teach you so much about how to apply this tech. So don't go boil the ocean. Don't run at your highest impact. Just pick something in your business right now that you think would be a good use case fit that you are measuring, and see if you can get an uplift of 15 to 20% on your first try. And then it's like anything else business does. Iterate, learn, iterate, and get better at, and it will get faster. So I believe what you're going to see in the future is that people are going to become premium. If businesses invest in their people assets and train them how to interact with agents, interact and think in flows, not in tasks, right?
Yeah.
Get away from the tasks, and know how to prompt engineering in a way that is productive. you are going to be heads and tails above anyone that's not doing that. You will hit that and be able to scale in incredible ways that businesses haven't seen. Where we're looking to have maybe, I've seen some progressive, private equity groups going, I'm looking for a 15 to 20% growth year over year. And that's aggressive, right? And that's going to be the norm if you're leveraging AI within your business case. You're going to be able to see those multiples of growth because the scale is infinite at that point. It's just what you pump in, the number. No one in any other business application can talk about double digit returns multiples for an investment. When we put out our Vision AI, now we invested heavily in our Vision AI to help our waste and recycling customers to identify overfull containers and contamination. And we understood our cost. So it's, I'm going to throw out round numbers for easy math.
Sure.
If they want it, they'll have to go to the sales guy and figure out how to get it. But it's roughly about $1,000 per year per truck to run this.
Okay.
The return average is somewhere between 35 and 46x. So how many times, if I asked you to give me $1,000 and I gave you 46,000 back, how many times did you do that?
Yeah.
That's like, it's an easy answer, right? And most of these trucks already have cameras on them, right? So I'm not asking for any new tech. And if you think about why that's important, is I built all of my routing for that truck to pick up that waste on the fact that you have a 90-gallon container. And when I get there, if it's over full or there's garbage all around it, if I'm able to collect the data, understand, I can first try to educate you, Mr. Customer, that you bought a 90-gallon container, not a 200-gallon container. And if I'm expecting 90, now I'm making unexpected trips either to the MRF or the landfill, the dump. So all my route planning is messed up. So now I'm burning more gas, I'm burning more time, I'm not efficient. So it's multiplicative. The other area we're using AI in addition to Vision AI is in MLA predictive maintenance on the vehicle. If I have to take that truck out of service to replace its fluids and do its down maintenance on a static schedule or a predicted schedule based on historical data, not taking into consideration enhancements on the equipment, better engine blocks on new trucks, better efficiency in the way the trucks run, I'm not as efficient as I could be. So if I could reduce the predictive maintenance on a truck, let's say I maintenance it 4 times a year and I'm only doing it 3 times a year, that's money in my pocket as long as I'm not doing damage. AI allows us to just take a sample of the fluid, look at what's in the fluid, and tell you whether or not how your vehicle's. It's like taking a little medical reading, a blood test, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those, plus the optimized route. You go all the way back, look at where all your customers are, how you would pick them up, where your landfills are, and let AI work out what's the best way to pick them up. But that's an ideal route. So if I get there and they're not all 90, there's 110, 115, and it's not a wash, then you've ruined all of the magic that I put into optimizing the route. I no longer have an optimized route. If my truck's not running good, then I've messed up the fuel economy, right? If I have a good running route, I could save 17 gallons of diesel burning on my vehicle. I can make sure that my vehicle is optimized for the revenue I'm bringing in because I'm only maintaining when it needs it. And now I'm picking up the thing that I expected to pick up, whether it's a value stream or a waste stream, and I'm making sure that there's value in it. All three of those things are multiplicative, and they're only doable through AI. Otherwise, it has to be intuition and gut. There's just too much data in the system.
Yeah. Well, look, I really like how you positioned it. Human plus AI is just going to make efficiency, and we obviously we need people, right? Like we need
right. Otherwise, what are we doing it for?
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, what's the point, right? But and it's, I don't want to go too deep in this, but the fact that it feels like the same fear of when the internet came. Oh, the internet's going to replace us all, and like it's just more tools that are going to make us better, make us stronger, so that one person can do 10x, 200x, whatever, exactly you broke it down.
Look, our age is probably going to struggle the most with this. I wrote an article for the Forbes Tech Council about the hope of the future, right? I see a different view. I think our education system was born out of the industrial era, where we needed repeatable excellence, right? So we almost beat creativity out of our children so that they could get the right answer every time, repeatably, and have repeatable excellence. You can pick that thing up, stick it in a box the right way every single time. And that's what industry needed, right? but that's a heavy burden for humanity. If I can now shed the burden of that repeatable excellence and give that to AI, if we can take that back to our elementary school and preserve the infinite creativity our children have. I mean, I've got two kids. I've seen it. When they were young, there was nothing that was impossible. Everything was worth trying. They never feared failing. And then all of a sudden, they're on an AB honor roll. They stop taking risks because they don't want to lose the status. They're graded by how well they can repeat back what was given to them. That's not the world that's out there. If we embrace that and bring a new generation of creative children, not beat into repeatable excellence, and how they can use these tools to do that repeatable burden for them. Just like machines took the burden of manual labor from us, let these machines take the burden of repetition from us. And then we're orchestrators, right? We're strategists, we're creative, we're fearless in the face of just because no one's done it doesn't mean it can't be done. Let's try it this way, right? That's where I think the hope is. But it's not going to come to us. We have to engineer that future, right? Because I think we could just as likely engineer the doomsday scenario if we run at it hard enough.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And you mentioned it briefly, JU, but Jacksonville University.
Yeah.
And then, so let's talk about what you were just talking about with you. So you're a professor at Jacksonville University. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there, what you're teaching, and how all of this AI that we're talking about implements that.
So the two areas that I focus on in the teaching at JU, I sit on the advisory board and provide input on the curriculum and things of that nature. But my classes is in project management. I don't think AI takes that from us on how to manage risks, how to have intuition, how to pull things together. It can help. I mean, that was the whole purpose behind the book, was to teach customers how to understand the journey, what they can do to manage it. And in the book, I'm providing how you can now leverage AI to reduce costs. Well, I'm teaching that at JU in the project management course. Now, for me, the same thing. Memorization is never going to get it across the line for us. We've never been great at it. There's a handful of us that can do it. So I gamified the course and I broke the class up into 4 teams. They're project teams. They each have a role. And we created random encounter charts, and they would build their scope. They would build their assumptions. Scope is what you're delivering. Assumptions is what you are saying you're not delivering. And then things happen. Your lead guy gets sick. Right. So you have risk mitigations, assumptions, and scope. Those are your planning things to either go, sorry, Mr. Customer, what you just happened there, that's out of scope. I'm not responsible for that. That's you. Or I had an assumption that you had internet. I put that here. So you will have to take care of that. Or I have a risk mitigation that will reduce the damage to my project for that event happening. Like my guy, I have a redundancy built in, or I hedged a little bit of money. Then role play that all the way through. And then how can you leverage AI to manage? If you've ever been through a large project, these documents, you could get into the thousands of pages of requirements and technical specs and alignments and diagrams. Those are very easily digestible by AI now. And I can say, look, I need to do a functional alignment. Someone gave me a technical spec against this integration. Here's what we're expecting the output. What's missing? That's hard for humans to do, to find what's not there. AI does that pretty well, right? And it doesn't have to be 100%. It just needs to point me in the right direction to go, you know what? I don't see success criteria here. I don't see a test case for this. So I'm now running the risk of getting through CRP and into my pilot having never tested this edge case. That's bad, right? So those are the things I'm doing on the project management. On the AI and data analytics, it's the fundamental courses beyond AI, which is teaching you how does the AI, the deep learning work. I don't want to get into too much technical jargon here, but how you can build a restricted Boltzmann model in the system using Python to be able to drive it. The students, once they go through some of the fundamentals and dimensionality reduction, they get to go out and find whatever data they want. I don't care. Go get your data, go get football statistics, go get anywhere you can find statistics. Let's load up your sheets, run them into your models, and ask questions of them, right? And they get a chance to see that most of these models is statistics on steroids. Anyone that's ever gone through a statistics course understands the normalization curve, has done linear regression, has tried to factor on 2 dimensions. That's AI is just that on steroids. And it's a prediction engine, right? And it's got stochastic built into it. So I'm not training them how to build a better LLM or compete with Microsoft or any of that. I just don't think that's the relevance of a university, because they need to come in and be able to be productive. But understanding the nature of those, the limitations, why does it hallucinate, right? Everyone talks about hallucinations, but no one really explains, because it's got built-in stochastic algorithms. It's built into the algorithm, right? The randomness is built in. Has to be. Otherwise, you get the exact same answers you trained it on. Always. That's the only way that it has any variation. And so those are the two areas I'm working on. We're building out the new curriculum now, because I think everyone's in agreement. Roll ahead not even 5 years, and you're going to have a hard time finding a programmer.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've gone all the way through junior to senior to architect level, and we're keeping our architects because AI, there's just a certain amount of intuitiveness and creativity at the architect level that you have to have, right? But if we get rid of all of our juniors, where's the next generation architects coming from? Right? I'm not going to live forever, right? So at some point, you better get this thing up to my level soon, or within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a problem, because you've killed the base, the incubator, to bring those guys up to this level. So now it's like saying we're not going to train any more log truck drivers. And when you look at all the log truck drivers today, there's a lot of cotton tops up there, right? Driving these trucks. I mean, I saw a guy who's like in his 70s driving a log. That's not an easy job to do. But we've forced the age to be 26 as a minimum in this country, and I get it. It's dangerous. But who at 26 is eyeballing a $19 an hour job? Nobody, right? So
Yeah.
we almost cut ourselves off at the knees.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that you just kind of went there, but it's yeah, it's really interesting, and I like the premise of what I just heard that we were just talking about, is that we just have to stay focused on being good strategists, using this
Right.
tool as an opportunity to elevate ourselves, elevate our thinking, elevate our problem solving. You know, because obviously my experience with it is it helped me open up different doors I wasn't even considering.
It's a great thought partner.
Yeah, which then says, "Oh, okay, well, since we're going to go down that route, well, let's consider that." But it's not like, it's not solving and connecting this problem, this problem, this problem. I'm connecting the problems,
That's exactly right.
and then ultimately taking it and then implementing it the way I needed to be implemented. And it gave me a lot more than I needed. And then, but it opened up new opportunities. And now I'm going to take it down. I'm going to use it to my advantage. I'm going to create a workflow that then, to back to your earlier point, automates that specific
There you
need
go.
that allows me to go down. And I like how you originally set that up, which was go down a specific need, not everything, because now it's just going to kind of go bounce around all over the place and might enter different areas that we don't need, but a specific workflow that then scales to then make my life easier, because now I can go solve the next problem. And that's exactly what it sounds like you're teaching that at JU, and what you are seeing of the current call it college student right now, but that current next flow of workforce, they're going to come in with that critical creative thinking, because the memorization or the kind of 1+1 is already figured out, because
Right.
it's going to be integrated into everything that we're doing.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
going to be
so
fundamentals and then abstraction, understanding how strategically and creatively to leverage agentic AI, right? Agentic
yeah,
AI is going to be the do, but it's going to be in very specific, narrow use cases. MCP, the glue that ties all the APIs together. Again, I don't want to put too much jargon out there, but model context
right.
protocol. It's what sits on top of the APIs, and so that AI can figure it out. You could really vision a world where I might have 100, 200 agents at my disposal doing a variety of tasks and capabilities that I'm orchestrating while
Yep.
I'm calling balls and strikes from where I'm sitting, and I own a domain. And what would have been even 2 years ago, a floor of people that did that work. You could now say 5 years from now, one person could do the work of that floor. So now you have that infinite scalability strategy as opposed to trying to get down to 0 employees, which is a finite game. At some point, you've become as efficient as you can. And unfortunately, without the human component to adapt, we start to see that replicative fading where it gets worse and worse. There's shown all over the place where I have it generate a picture, take that picture, put it back in, ask for more stuff, put that picture. Before you know it, that picture is nowhere close to what you were looking for because it's compounding the error it made in the first image. It didn't suddenly go back to the original source and clean it up. And that will be the outcome if you wipe out your human base and just have agents. They're not going to learn efficiently, regardless of the strategy you give it, whether it's reinforced learning or tactical learning or just data processing and looking for patterns. You're not going to get the benefit out of it. But agentic AI is going to be what gives you the ability to do. The generative AI is going to give it the ability to have enough flexibility in its reasoning that it doesn't require hard-coded use cases. I don't have to think of every possible thing that it might do. It'll have enough flexibility in there that it becomes more useful to me. And then you can put stage gates. I'm advocating heavily across every agent, have a human on-ramp. And then dictate up front, what is your confidence level minimum floor? Is it 90? Is it 80? You're never going to get 100%. So if you pick 100, you've picked a bad use case, right? I'm saying a 20% error rate is a good error rate, 75 depending on the relevance or the importance of the agent, and give it an on-ramp to a human to escalate, right? Treat your humans as your premium service model within your business to be able to do that. And if I have 200 of them and only 20% of them are escalating to me, that's a pretty good amplification of my skill set, right? I still have to understand the skill set. I still have to understand the outcome, but I also, more importantly, need to know how to provide guidance to this new tool. And if you think of it that way, one of the things we talked in the pre-call is for a photographer that's doing art photography, or that's just a lens. All the AI is a different lens, a different camera. I don't have a 35 millimeter that I can hold in my hand. I have AI and I'm describing the lights, the refractoring. Here's my base source image, and it's producing based off of that these beautiful images. I couldn't do that, right? The ones that are coming out that are producing music, it still takes someone that has that skill to describe to it in a way it can understand how to produce that song. See what I'm saying? So we will never get rid of the human. So embrace that now, business owner, and train and invest that in your people now. And then as the tools come along and the use cases open up more and more, you've already got a workforce ready to maximize.
Yeah, that's great. So you touched on it quickly as well, which is you mentioned a book, and then I want to talk a little bit about the consulting business that you have. What I took away is you are optimizing people's technology stack or businesses' technology stack. So give us a little bit more on the book as well as your consulting business, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah. So Evan Schwartz, I last year I took it upon myself, a childhood friend of mine. Again, this might be just for the aged people. You start to value those relationships of people that knew you when you were a kid, right?
Absolutely.
Those become golden. And in the book, John Leonard, best friend, I've known him since sixth grade, was going through an ERP implementation with his business. He was CEO, he's part owner. And I'm not going to name the vendor because, look, I think there's culpability on both customer and vendor side. Went almost all the way to production and found out they could not put the diluted dry weight in a decimal form on a print on the barrel because he does chemicals. That was required by the Department of Transportation before you put a caustic chemical on the road. I want to know what's in that barrel, right?
Yeah.
And it only did units and inches. And there seemed to be no way to get past this. And he's like, then I can't use your software. Well, he had signed a 5-year software agreement and he was paying for it, a piece of software he couldn't even use. And a business his size, that was crippling to him. And that was just the last straw. I'd seen it many, many times. I could spend hours talking to you of customer after customer after customer had gone to the big, I can do anything but do nothing vertically specific to that industry, right? You can make me do anything. Anyone can be coded. And they result with nothing but just tons of money out the door. So I wrote a book. The book is the context of 35 years of rolling out ERPs, what to do at an abstract level. It's all of the narrative is in there. And then on evanjschwartz.com, you can find the course, 700 pages of guided material through what I call the customer journey. It's 10 phases of rolling out any system, whether it's Salesforce, an accounting system, an operation system. Every business today runs on a piece of software. And when you take a new version, you're going to go through the before you buy, the kickoff, the build, testing. It's all the same phases. So I document all those phases on what you need to know, what you need to do, Mr. Customer. It's from the customer's perspective, not the vendor's, what you need to hold the vendor for, but also what you need to hold yourself accountable for, right? No one's going to treat your house better than you, period. Just won't. So take ownership of it. But it's hard to take ownership of something if you don't know what to do. So the whole point of the course and the book is to teach you what to do and what you're about to put your business through, right? And then at each one of those phases, I also introduce very specific, here's a prompt, here's how you set it up, here's what you would do with AI to give you the best opportunity for success, because AI is a great thought partner. You called that one out. That's called out in the course. It's great at cross-comparing documents. Take these two documents. What am I missing? If I'm looking at my testing strategy, what am I missing? I'm about to do a readiness checklist to go live on a pilot. What am I missing? What lines up? What are the metrics do I need to track here to help you find your dashboard so you can measure and get bias out of the system? So it's womb to tomb. Everything to eliminate as much as possible. There's no change without pain, so I don't take it all away. But we reduce the pain to something that is manageable and isn't or can't be an extinction level event, particularly if you're a smaller business.
Nice. And so you've got a course, but then you also help one-on-one with the right size business, or?
Yeah, so as part of the course, we have a monthly call you can get in. You can always schedule private calls with me, and I'll walk you through, listen to where you're at. Now I'm going to warn everyone, these are tough love calls, so I'm going to help you, but I'm not going to go out there and do it for you. One of my customers, Joe Burkle, had popped up, I can't cash your check for you. I can give you a piece of software, and if you do this, this, and this, you should have a return on investment of Y, right? But you have to do that, it's that whole, I pay for the gym every month and I haven't lost a pound, right? You still have to do the work, right? It's that concept. But I can absolutely put you on the right path, tell you the right things to do so you're not guessing. Because, look, that is the challenge, is you've got a customer whose core business, maybe like John, was making chemicals out of citrus and terpenes from the forestry business. And he understands his business really well. He can manufacture it infinitely. But when it comes to software, he's going to say things like, I'd like this checkbox on the customer so that I can do this. That's the wrong way to talk to your vendor. You're now dictating the solution to that's their core competency. Let's get all the way to the end. What are you trying to achieve? Oh, I need a better way to be able to report on a subset of my customers, or I need to be able to create a flag. Okay, then we're not doing the checkbox. I can do that already in the system by doing this, that, and the other thing. Unscrupulous vendors will take your order and put the checkbox on there. You won't get as much value out of it because you're going to pay them to do it, right? So it teaches you how to speak to your vendor in a way that your vendor can respect. And then your vendor can then take the ownership. And now you can put your boot on their neck to get it across the line, right?
Yeah, and I would take this also. It's not only when you want to make a change, it's also evaluating your current system. What can you optimize? Yeah. Do you have the right system? Because I know we have a lot of technology in place, and I'm constantly evaluating it. And just to kind of say, hey, I know we needed this 6 months or a year ago, but do we need it today? And is it serving us a purpose? Do we need
that's the before you buy phase of the project, right? It's in the before you buy. I walk you all the way through. How do you assess your as is? Right? Because so many customers will go out and buy a new system. They don't even know what they have. And we'll find out mid-rollout that there's an access database some employee did as a rogue to get through a requirement. The software didn't do it before. We didn't know about it with the new system, and now the new system doesn't do it, and the access database isn't going to cut mustard because we went to a centralized system rather than a localized system. And it's now a problem. right? So understanding what you have is important. That's easy to say, right? It's easy to say. You just need to know what you do and what you need and what your stuff is. And you're like, that is very easy to say. It's hard to keep up with your map, what your as is architecture, what do your systems do, what's the value of them. And if you can have a value understanding of what you currently have, what value does it bring, right? Immediately, most customers will go to a functional perspective. It does this thing, it does that. But you don't describe the value behind it. Well, then I don't know how to tell you what the value of the new system's going to be. Because you know what the new system's going to, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, it's going to do the other thing. So tell me again why you're putting your whole company through the pain, just to be able to do the same stuff.
Right.
What's the value that you're trying to get out of it? What is the mission here? We need to cover the bases and get to value conversations. So we cover that in the before you buy, how to do it, how to communicate with your vendor, how AI can help you communicate if you're not really sure how to get at it. It's a really powerful thought partner at the generative side of it. And then there's so many agentic AIs popping out right now. Like number one question you should ask of any ERP system you get today is, does it have the MCP supportable layer? Can I connect an agent to it?
Right. Yeah.
That's a
huge.
powerful question that wasn't there last year.
No.
Last year, that wasn't a viable question, right? That's how fast this is changing.
And it's just going to keep getting faster.
Oh,
so
yeah.
On that note, to kind of wrap up, and I appreciate all the context that you gave us of kind of where we are today, even though we bled a little bit into the future. Like, what do you see? And we've been talking a lot about AI. So but with AI, and I'm interested in this tech stack kind of solution, because I guess the last thing I want to mention on that is there's a lot of value to bringing your group, your course on, because you're taking 3 decades of learnings, and that can be so valuable because businesses can go multiple years down a path that then sets them back, or did not allow them to grow to a certain level. So there's a lot of value in that, which is why you hire agencies like us and consultants and things like that.
Sure.
But also, what do you see in the coming years with the AI and the tech stack and just kind of everything in your business that's coming up next?
I would say this is distant future, but given the speed at which this thing's delivering, it may not be so distant. But I would take this to the bank. You're going to see user interfaces go away. The day of us hand jamming stuff into screens, gone.
Yeah.
Already, you can test this theory right now. This happens to me. I get in the morning, get dressed, go to my car to drive into work, and my phone pump says, "Oh, you're 23 minutes away from work." I didn't even tell it where I was going. It just understood. It had detected a pattern and it recognized, and through context. And we waved bye-bye to anything that smelled like privacy decades ago. We can sort of trick ourselves into thinking that we're private, but we're not. Every little bit, every conversation we have is being monitored constantly. So this thing will have a level of context that is unparalleled. It'll know. So there's no reason for me to hand jam stuff into a screen. I'll either talk to it, or I may type to it just generally as a chat, or it'll just know through the context of the conversation, the surroundings. In a lot of my businesses in the resource intensive, I call the book People, Places, and Things, because it's a lot of people buying stuff from some things, moving that material to another place, turning it into a product, moving it to a retail and selling it. So there's a lot of moving it around. And you're not taking them one at a time, you're putting them on a giant truck. Well, that truck has to arrive at a facility, get past a gate, or get weighed. There's no version where the phone in his pocket or the GPS on that truck doesn't know where he is and can contextually tell that plant your shipment's arrived. And we know it's that person because we've got his phone. We know what he's got because we ordered it to show up, or he told us in advance what it is. And the gate arm opens, weighs us on the way in, and directs us to the right loading bay. We unload it. Whatever comes off of there is scanned either through Vision AI or through a barcode. No one's typing anything in anywhere. We're just doing.
Yeah.
And it just contextually wears. So UI is going to go away, and you're just going to see it evaporate. And then the hallmark of great technology is it's invisible. No one thinks about receiving a phone call and what it takes to do, right? You just answer the phone, have a conversation with loved one. They could be all over across the world, and it's like they're right in the next room, right? That's the hallmark of great technology. So I see that happening. I see us becoming more comfortable dealing with agents, communicating with agents like I'm communicating with you. We're already seeing some early adopters embedding agents into their org chart,
Right.
where the CEO is talking to a series of orchestrators which are able to spawn agents to hand down either tactical or strategic commands down to another level, which would then have a different layer of agents that they work with to amplify their capabilities and strategy. That's going to become the norm. You are going to see, as a normalization, agents in your org chart. You're going to have a fractional agent that does this or fractional agent that does that. Most of the operations around are all going to be fully automated. You're going to see microtransactions kick in. I'm not sure if you've been following the new banking, the 20022 is happening. That is all to facilitate microtransactions. So what we see today, and that'll take time because of a social construct, but we only get paid every 2 weeks because of the bad financial system, not because I shouldn't be paid for the work I did that day. So you're going to start seeing like a running meter, just like you see in a cab, but that's going to be for everything. Everything that I do and produce a value is now going to be running on microtransactions across the globe. It's going to be unified with this, and it's all going to be driven and launched through AI. And that's, I think it was either in that same Forbes article or the one previous to it, there was a discussion on infrastructure of just take the MCP layer and publish it to a blockchain specifically for it, so that agents can now get tokens when you ask it to do anything, to go and book a reservation for you, and it goes into the blockchain, finds the right MCP connection to be able to do it. But there's I need 2 tokens of X to be able to do this, and all I do is fill that agent's wallet up to go perform that activity, and I'm microtransacting with the agent to go do things, right? And personal shoppers, I'm looking for this. I'm not going to sit there on eBay and watch for everything. So you're going to see agents out there, and you're going to see numerous of those pop up because I can now aggregate thousands of sites into a singular view and let agents do all that work.
But going back to what we started off with, it's only going to be as good as that specific workflow. And if
That's exactly right.
Creating all these random agents doing different workflows that you don't serve you, now you've created your own kind of chaos. And so it's being a little bit more diligent, setting up the workflows that make sense. Now, granted, there's going to be a lot that are going to be integrated into big tech that we're just going to adopt and enjoy, that we don't as humans, right? So, but then we think about from the business standpoint, and my audience, small to medium-sized businesses, is focusing in on workflows that are going to be successful and going to help you, and not try to feel like you can automate everything, automate the things that make sense. And then just like anything in life, slow and steady wins the race. Get you set up properly, and then you won't just be running out rampant, going a little crazy.
Yeah, you can't open Microsoft Office products today without seeing the Copilot. Every single one of their things are already covered by MCP. They've got an MCP layer on all of it. So they've already planned for that distant vision where everything is driven through agents, but it is a walk to get there, right?
Yeah.
We're going to have to walk it slowly but surely, but eventually you will have saturated. There will be orchestrators that can either spin up agents in real time, and that's going to be an interface or an interop layer to humans. I see there being the orchestrator AI, whose job it is for you to take the prompt and it spawns an agent just in time that will code it with a narrow use case, launch it to perform its service, and then dissolve the AI agent when it's done because it'll no longer be needed.
Yeah. Well, super interesting stuff, Evan. Thanks so much for coming on the show. We'll have all your information linked in the article and the post. Lots to digest. But hey, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. And look, the last thing I want to just make sure that we end on is it's a person plus AI strategy. Do not get rid of your people. Train them to use this tool, and your business will be head and tails above everybody else.
I think it's great. Thanks so much for the words of wisdom, Evan Schwartz. Appreciate your time, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, sir.